Welcome back to Roadmap, Auto Trader UK's product and tech podcast. Today's episode, we're going a little bit off piste and taking a drive into the world of retailer education. I'm going to have a chat through the ins and outs of all things in this area with, first up, Andrew Corpola, Partnerships Manager. Hey, Andrew. And then we've got Jenna Gregory, Senior Customer Engagement Manager.
Hello.
And last but not least, we've got Marc Thornborough, Partnerships Director.
Hello.
Marc.
Hi.
So, where we're going to start?
Superstar, Marc.
I know he is, isn't he? I feel like we should be on different, sides of the table here.
I'm used to sat in your seat interviewing people. I don't like this.
No, you don't like it, a little bit.
It's very intimidating.
It is. I can see the sweat, the beads of sweat coming on. But, where let's start, because obviously retailer education is, it's an interesting topic, but obviously we do know Marc is a bit of a face of this, but every time we say the word education, I've got an image of Marc with a little mortarboard on, classroom, cloak, cane.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So what is retailer education, and actually what's your roles in that world? And I will start with you, Marc.
Yeah, I think I'm the tip of the iceberg. There's a massive team behind what we do. What we try and do is use a mix of data, metrics, stories, looking at the best performers. There's a lot of basic best practice in there for retailers.
Yeah.
But basically we try and inform, educate and inspire change with retailers, a change of behaviour. It might be a change of strategy, pricing, whatever it might be, so that they can improve their performance and ultimately extract like maximum value out of Auto Trader. And Andrew, you've been doing many more of these than I have, but you started long before me.
Hold on a sec. Yo, what's that? 74.8% people not subscribed? You joking? Hold on. Right, listen, we're going to get taken off air. If you're liking these podcasts, remember to like and subscribe, because we need to get these numbers up. Otherwise, it's time for the...
Nick King started these many, many years ago. Yeah. The guru of everything kind of, when it comes to presenting and informing and educating and inspiring retailers, there's no one better than Nick. And we've kind of just picked up the baton from him. And Andrew does, what is it, 10 years now you've been doing these on the road, in person. And
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. But it's a great, I love seeing the change from retailers before and after the picture. And there's data to suggest that they do get better once they've been to a masterclass or a clinic.
Sorry. So what are the forums we use? So you mentioned clinic, masterclass, and I think you mentioned webinar earlier. So are those the three core things that make up retailer education?
Yeah, and there's the modules as well that Caitlin and Andrew record. That kind of came into its own during COVID when we couldn't get out there, when we couldn't talk to retailers. We took everything online, all the basic best practice about advertising, pricing, building a strategy, understanding data. So there are three key areas I would imagine into the education team, for the education team, which is the in-person masterclasses that we try and get out there once or twice a month.
Yeah, hang on a second. We've had some rebranding now.
We have, yeah.
We refer to those as clinics.
I thought they were going to go back to masterclasses.
Oh, that's the video.
Right, okay.
Clinic.
Don't want to fall out. I'm going to shut up soon. But there's that area. There's the in-person kind of classroom stuff where I spend a day with a retailer. A lot of them are in Manchester. We had our first one in Covent Garden a few weeks ago. We're going out now and doing more of those. And that includes Caitlin and Toby and Dave Lowe as well as Andrew being the front of that.
Yeah.
And then there's the modules, so the kind of bite-size, learn at your leisure videos that retailers can do across the piece. And then there's the fortnightly panic that is the webinars.
And so your role, Marc, so you is it webinars that is your sort of, not I'm going to say bread and butter, but where you spend your most time, is it?
I would say so, yeah. And then there's the clinics as well that that take up a lot of that. And you tend to pick up some retailers that carry on afterwards, so that they regularly ring you up and ask for advice and help and tips and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I love that. It keeps me really. I understand what retailers want and their challenges and their pressures. And then I can bring that into the business and go, this is, retailers are really feeling it in this area at the moment. I think we need to change this or do that or develop something that'll help them.
Yeah. And so, Andrew, I mean, Marc was teeing you up there in terms of, like, so if you, Marc, are predominantly working in webinars, but so is your role in this, did you say, is it masterclass or clinics?
It'll be a combination of doing the clinics, which are the in-person. Just a bit of detail about those are generally half-day sessions, workshop-oriented. Prior to the pandemic, we would get up and present about 200 slides, and it'd be death by PowerPoint.
Yep, remember those days.
Yep. Well, we remember them fondly too. But with the pandemic, there was an opportunity that we had to get in front of our retailers still over those couple of years, and as Marc suggested, we put together those bite-sized videos. So we just translated that clinic material into the video content. And as we've come out of the pandemic and towards the end of this year, the clinics have really evolved into these workshops, because now we can rely on the library of videos to cover the basics. Whereas when we now get into the clinics, we're looking for the decision makers, the owner, operators of the dealerships, whether it's a supermarket or franchise group, it doesn't matter. Independents. It's really to come to the sessions with some targets in mind, and we'll go through a session and look at those targets. But as Marc suggested, is then going through the jobs to be done.
Yeah.
If you want to get from A to B, and you source like this, are you going to source like that?
Yeah.
You're pricing like this. Your pricing might have to evolve if you want to sell 5 more cars, whatever it happens to be a month.
Yeah. So you two work in like the retailer education area, but what about yourself, Jenna?
Yeah.
Your role's slightly different, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So these guys are very much front and centre, in front of retailers, front of the camera a lot of the time, whereas I'm more behind the scenes. So I'd say my role is quite an even split of project management and also marketing. So yeah, I sit within the customer marketing team, and it's looking at how we take all this educational content, bring it all together and make sure that retailers are actually, know they're happening, whether it's webinars or clinics, or they're accessing the online masterclasses, and putting it out through all our different marketing campaigns, social media, whatever it might be.
Right.
I think you're underplaying your role slightly there, Jen. You keep us on track. You make sure.
Yeah, I whip these guys into
Yeah. Because I don't know yourself, Andrew. We've met a few times briefly, but obviously I know Marc from years back, so definitely know it needs to be whipped and kept on track.
Yeah.
But like Marc, you did say like you are like that tip of the iceberg. So actually, how big? Because it's interesting. So we've got this like retail education with other people from different tribes supported and doing it. But how big is like, I'm going to call it the function. So if I was going to say, right, how many people work in retail education, like what kind of skill sets we got in there? Because it is, when you start, I thought, I was honest, I thought a while ago it was just you. And then when you start to walk around where you sit, you go, it's not just Marc. There's loads of people as well. So like, how big is the sort of the area?
There's a core team of around about 5 or 6 individuals. We've got myself, Andrew, Caitlin, Toby, Stevenson, that work in the core team, and then Dave Lowe, who's got like a foot in both camps, that and retailer insight, and Jen as well, and Ellie for the webinars. We couldn't really deliver them without you, and Guy Dunn. I can't leave out Guy Dunn. He is he's unflappable. If you want anyone in a crisis, you want Guy Dunn by your side. It's just amazing. Just a few webinar stories where we've been like 2 seconds before we go live, and there's 250 retailers that are waiting, and you can see the countdown 5. And he's going, sorry, the network's gone down.
Yeah, I've had that a few times.
And then within seconds, he goes, right, we're okay now.
Oh, and then you come on camera like ashen,
sweating, but no one sees that. I mean, the work that is involved to deliver these fortnightly webinars is amazing. It's like a program that's being delivered via a TV company. You don't see the foundations that go into it, and then as soon as it's over with, that's it. In the can. Next, let's roll on to the next one. It's A lot of hard work to deliver that.
A well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I think as well it depends what content you're covering, like particularly on webinars. If we're talking about a specific product or maybe doing a deep dive on like pricing data, for example, we have to work with like data analysts or product managers. So it does touch a lot of the business. These guys obviously front the webinars, but in terms of bringing it all together, there's a lot of different teams that go into it, and then even the sort of like editing afterwards as well. We've got the video production team who then take some of that content and use it for social and things like that as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because you touched on, we're actually talking about a number of episodes coming up around video production, social, things like that. So you're teeing them all up nice, which is brilliant because we're always looking for subscribers. So our channel has got like, I think 276, not 1,000, it's 276. It's 276.
Okay.
So we are trying to plug it. So
Yeah.
Cheers for that. But like actually going back though in time, like how long has this retail education machine been around? Is it a new thing? I think the first time I got exposed to it really was during COVID, working on like guaranteed part exchange and with some of your colleagues, and like I was all these webinars, and then I think I'd done a discovery day with you, Marc, once. I got the usual abuse on the way in off you, but it was good fun. And then it's like, what, these things? These are really cool. But how long have we been doing this? Is this something that's COVID on, or is it actually pre-COVID that we were doing this type of activity?
Yeah, a few years pre-COVID. I think it's evolved. Before that, you could probably say that Nick King was a man on his own until we joined Nick and started helping with the masterclasses.
Yeah.
And it's kind of grown arms and legs since then. The webinars, like an offshoot of that, and the modules.
I think it's also important to point out that our relationship with our customers, sort of when Nick started, it was really difficult to get bums in seats.
Yeah.
We had a very transactional relationship with our customers, and not a very positive one. So it was a real struggle. I missed out on some of those few glory years, or unglorious years, so to speak, at the beginning, where you get 50 bacon buddies. You always like to tell a story, and one or two people turn up, just because they're thinking you're going to flog some more product at them.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to have my wallet's going to be empty, etc.
And it's a real tightrope sometimes to kind of be agnostic, to deliver insight without selling them any product. That comes as a kind of offshoot, as a byproduct. If you want a retailer to get better, to squeeze more juice out of Auto Trader, to improve their return on investment, there might be product somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's helping them to tweak and refine what they are doing, and the basic stuff, the basic best practice.
I think that's the great thing of the clinics, is because they're interactive. So the way we've always operated is almost like at the end of the session, the opportunity for one-to-ones. So you can go through the whole day, and we go through the content, we go through the exercises, and then there's a real opportunity to work with the account managers or directors that support the sessions.
Yeah.
So a big shout out to them. Without them, the clinics sort of fall down a bit, but there's that real opportunity to dive deep into their accounts to find out where there's opportunities. I said earlier, if it's to sell 5 more cars, is it around pricing, sourcing, advertising? Have you ever tried video? Maybe you should try video for a first time to give it a go.
Yeah.
And Andrew mentioned going out there and talking to retailers in the regions. There has been a clinic once, only once in the northeast, where one retailer turned up, and that gets quite difficult. You have to plow on. You do quite an in-depth one-to-one with that retailer.
Unplugged.
An acoustic set. Sit down, get the guitar.
Done many of those.
And then you have stadium gigs where there is literally standing room only. You might have 80, 90 retailers in a room, and that you get an incredible buzz off that, because you can see they don't have many networking events as well, and there's a mixture of franchise, independent and supermarkets that attend. Sometimes there's marketing functions, sometimes there's buyers there. And as I say, it can be a lonely game sometimes for independent retailers stuck on their own. They don't know if they're doing a good job or a poor job or where to improve. They just talk to their mates at the auction, and they'll never really get a full picture there. So this is a great opportunity for them to come along, like a warts and all, MOT on their business. How can I improve? What am I doing right? Pat on the back if you're not. Kick up the bum to improve if if you are.
I think that's the good thing about our digital masterclasses as well.
Yeah.
So we launched them during the pandemic when obviously all events got cancelled. So we was looking for a way to still be able to share a lot of this data and insight and help retailers without them having to come to a venue, you know, take a time out of the day and sit on a seat and go through that full day experience. That's how it sort of evolved. And now because of that, you know, we've been able to scale so much more. Like we've had over, I think it's 4,500 retailers who have accessed a masterclass online. So
And those are the bite-sized ones you're talking about?
yeah, the digital ones, yeah. So they're sort of like split up into different modules around all the main jobs to be done, like advertising, sourcing, pricing, all that kind of thing.
And that's just serve on demand, like when I want to do it, 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, whatever it might be.
yeah.
And so you mentioned like 4,000 plus like retailers have access to them. What kind of numbers do we get now in like, whether it be at a webinar or at a clinic, now like in the current climate?
So webinar wise, we do it really depends on the topic of the webinar. Some you get a huge response, especially if it's quite emotional around like pricing or
I see Marc nodding in. Yeah.
and anything around EVs at the moment as well is a really hot topic. So you can generate in the region of like 500 plus registrants up to 1,000, and then you tend to get about half of that join live.
And then the rest is like on.
They can watch on
playback.
demand.
Cool.
Yeah.
On average, I would say the audience is around about 300, 350 every fortnight. Overall, looking at unique attendees last year, so we've done 27 webinars last year.
Yeah.
There's been, is it this year? Sorry. We've just done the last one.
It might be last year.
It might be.
Very well released. So in 2023,
Oh, right.
2023, we did 27 webinars, and I think overall there were over 6,000 unique registrants that attended and watched.
Yeah.
Over 400,000 minutes of content were consumed by those people, and I had 600 questions that were asked.
Yeah.
We had 30 guests on, and the topics, as Jen was saying, there range from, we had Pete Appleby on and Darren talking about AI, and that was a fantastic.
Another episode coming soon.
Shaky plug.
But it was amazing because retailers just think that AI is ChatGPT, and we did before that. But they go, no, we've been using it for ages. There's machine learning, and there's so many questions that came in for that. And then consumer duty, distance selling. So we cover what retailers want to talk about. They're basically our webinars, our retailers.
So how like we were talking about this in terms of we've got for season and next season, we've got loads of backlog of items that we want to cover. It's funny because we just covered quite a few that you talked about, but how far in advance do you like of your schedule and the subjects you want to cover? Obviously, from a masterclass perspective, it's putting material out on demand, but actually, when you're doing live events, what are you going to cover?
Yeah.
Is that something that where you can see it from retail demand of questions coming in, or have you got like the next 3 months planned? How do you do it?
I'd say a mix of both. We try and plan as far in advance as possible, but because it's based on, you know, what retailer challenges they're having or feedback that we're getting that they want us to cover, it's a bit of a mix of the two, to be honest. So yeah, it can be quite last minute. That's where we're sort of like rushing around trying to get guests on and sort out content. Or if we know that, you know, something's launching, for example, in January, then we can plan a little bit more for that. But yeah, I'd say it's a good mix of the two.
Yeah, and we're quite flexible as well. You were mentioning with the latest one that we did 2 weeks ago, it was like a special edition on a Friday. Because of the news that was hitting the headlines about trade prices dropping constantly month on month. And there's like a bit of a panic with some retailers, so we needed to address that. And retailers were saying, this is really hurting me right now, our business. So we thought, well, we need to bust some myths there. We need to bring in experts. We need to bring in retailers. And that was really last minute, within like 3 or 4 days. Can we do a pricing webinar on Friday? Okay.
Good for the
Just drop everything.
Good for the blood pressure.
Yeah. Can you go and find 2 retailers? We want a group and we want an independent retailer. Right. And then get Ian on to talk about it as well, and get Rich Walker on. Right. So drop everything and do that. But it was a real great. Everyone was Hawk was involved, and in Anchor this, and we came together. It was one of our greatest webinars, I think. That and it's great when the retailers come on and start to talk to one another. So you can sit back then and watch this unfold, the story that you want to tell, and they're telling it as well. It was just an amazing.
And so how do then the clinics, is it very different, the clinics? Is it very, because you've got a book event space, is it much more like, well, I'm not going to say that's not well planned, it's like reaction to something's happened, where it feels like it's hard to react with clinics, or is it?
It's more like an album release. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Album release.
Yeah.
It's
to our price.
It's about putting. It's a bit of a slower moving beast. It's putting together that half day's worth of content, and as Marc said, that you're booking places. A lot of the events have taken place out of Manchester this year, but it's then them recruiting the retailers to register and turn up for the different events. But just like the webinars, as new con comes in, we start to adjust the clinic. What's the EV message? What are we hearing from retailers, etc. But there's the core things that topics that we will cover off during those sessions.
Yeah. So is it sometimes the triggers from type of questions you're getting from a webinar may then trigger stuff that we start to build into the clinic? 'Cause I'm assuming there's it's all
intertwined
information. Yeah. That I wouldn't feel if I went to a webinar that then I went to a clinic 6 weeks later, it wouldn't jar. There'd be some sort of pattern and flow that I could follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the clinic's a bit more intense. Obviously, you run for about an hour or so with great questions, interaction. The clinic is running for like I said, a half day, and therefore there's a lot more to take in.
Yeah.
There's not one topic. We were covering about 10 things, and we get repeat people coming to the clinics. Like if we did one in June, we could have someone coming in again in November, just because there's so much information.
Yeah.
That they want to come and absorb more, because the retailers come in all sizes and shapes, brand new startups. So they're just trying to absorb absolutely everything. And then you've got the wily veterans that are looking for the marginal gains, just to get them over the hump, keep them on top of the heap.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, it's like, in a way, it's like coaching, isn't it? You go in, you might not take it in first time, and then you watch the videos on YouTube. Like me and one of mine and Marc's common friends, Rob Morfitt, we're going to learn to do this on my bike. You watch it on YouTube, you go and try it, you fall off. You go to a coach, you get marginally better, then you forget, and then you have to go back, and then at some point, the message actually
sinks
in.
Yeah.
It does make sense. Is there times though, because you said it's more intense. So what's the buzz out of the clinics? Is there just before you go in, is there a fear or a buzz where you're going? Because when we do these podcasts, I'm like, 2 minutes forward, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah. This is going to be insane. And then you get going and you go, this is going to be brilliant. Or, this is going to be a tough one. Yeah. This is going to be a tough one.
In a bit, you do get butterflies, depending where your event is or who's attending, because you can see the attendees. You can have some tougher customers that you recognize. Not like the old days where someone used to turn up with a beer and ready for a fight. That was the early days. We don't get that now. We generally, because it's taken quite a time, as we said a bit earlier, that they're there to learn. I have a big investment with AutoTrader. We've got the webinars, we've got the masterclasses on the videos, we've got the clinics. The people that are watching these, attending these, etc., they're investing their time.
Yeah, exactly.
They're traveling. There's expense. I think the last session that we held up here, there was a gentleman, the first person that came in, we were still setting up, and he says, I've come from Folkestone in Kent. So he was closer to Paris than he was to Manchester. And so once again, you get that we want to make it worth his while. He's taken time out of his business, the expense, etc. So you do get the butterflies, but when they're leaving, you shake hands, etc. Have good conversations. As Marc sort of said a bit earlier, you get that reward of them walking away. And one of the things that we're doing this time is actually creating an action list. So as we cover off things, write down the action that you're going to take away. So when you see people walking away with list as long as their arms, you're like, okay, they got it.
Yeah, I can see, like, like in the physical world, you can get that instant like feedback, whether it be, like you say, leaving or people just saying, "Oh, that's great, I really enjoyed that." What's it like on a webinar perspective, Mark? Because obviously you're not sat in front of your audience, you're up in a magic studio doing your thing.
Yeah, I mean, you still get nervous beforehand, and I think to Andrew's point, you get the butterflies. But if you didn't get that, then you take it as blasé, and you don't care about it as much.
Yeah.
But it's always the same. I think whether it be webinars or masterclasses, I think
Even this.
it's what, sorry?
Even this. This is weird.
It couldn't get weirder.
It's just showing that you care, and there's an obligation on you that retailers. It's particularly the independents. They've closed their business for a day to come along.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
And invest in you. So you've got to go, well, I'm going to make sure, as Andrew said, this is worthwhile. And we were always humbled when we get audiences of 300-400 to listen to us and watch us on a webinar. And that's Guy. Just before it goes on, he'll tell you the audience number. There's 467 waiting in the lobby. Right, okay. And then you're live in 5, 4... Oh my goodness. And then, so there is, I think on webinars, we're on broadcast mode.
Yeah.
It's very much like a news program. We have, we forgot to mention Catherine King, who is part of the webinar team, who comes on and does a brilliant job.
Yeah, she's great.
To gives us, like the market health update. And she has a massive fan base as well of people that just absorb Catherine's data. And she does a brilliant job. And then you may be having an interview. It might be Nathan, it might be COO of a group, it might be Catherine or Ian, and they come on and they just it's just so great to listen to them, and then to watch the feedback that they get and we get, and the questions.
So do you just get feedback live? Do you? Is that right? The question?
Well,
do you have questions and feedback? Do you, Jen?
We get live questions to our presenters whilst we're live, which we try and answer in bit of a Q&A section at the end, depending on how many we get. We don't always get through them all, but we make sure we try and tackle any like difficult questions as well. We definitely don't try and shy away from some of the more pressing issues that are coming up. And then at the end of the webinar, we have like a survey, so we get feedback live from retailers who've just watched. But I think just on these, like, no matter which channel it is as well, they're all great in terms of building that partnership with retailers. And I think we've definitely gone on a bit of a journey, probably since COVID, to be fair, when some of these things really kicked off. You can just see like the relationship that we have with retailers now, and the impact that some of these channels, whether it's clinics, masterclasses, or webinars, are having on that. So that's really nice to see.
And the questions that we get asked, as you said, that Jenna, sorry, they're really quite pointy sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've never known Nathan, Catherine, Rich or Ian or any of the OLT that have been on that avoid them. They go, no, I'm answering that question.
Yeah.
And it could be about price indicators. It could be about our own rates.
Yeah.
About why are you doing these things? And you can see that they're typed in capitals.
Yeah. Is that when you're like...
But Catherine goes, no, I'll quite easily answer that. And then to see the change in sentiment from that person who's been quite angry, asking lots of questions and quite pointy, to go, thank you at the end, is that's what the job's there for.
And
sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it's not just retailers either who join them.
We get that. Yeah. What type? Is it just retailers, or do you get manufacturers or people in the industry? Or...
Yeah, we get a wide range of people. We get competitors, we get journalists, we get finance houses, we get a lot. I think you got picked up in a press article, didn't you, Mark, from your FIFO one?
A quote, Mark Thornborough from Bolton.
But you don't know it. And that, again, puts you on your guard a little bit, because you don't know who's watching. It's like masterclasses. You don't know how people are going to take that away and go on to social. There has been times when Andrew's like a consummate professional, and imagine a performer on a stage getting heckled.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do get that when we're out there. Not as much as we did in the old days, but...
Yeah, I still recall one session where actually the retailers, there was someone really just wanted to have a fight and talk about the rates, etc. And other retailers said, we're here to learn. Actually, the point they've just made, we've implemented it, and it's really worked for us. So it's when you have the retailers having your back, and buttoning up some ruffians, so to speak. It's fantastic.
Yeah. What's the feedback loop around then the masterclasses? Obviously, if that's on demand, is it the number of viewers, or do we get like feedback on how well they're going or what's working for retailers as well?
We've asked for like testimonials and things before, which when we first launched, which was really great. But we tend to go quite a lot off the engagement figures. So looking at, which digital masterclasses are performing really well versus others, and looking at what's happening in the market. If we've not got any content on that, for example, we launched one, I don't know if it was this year or last year, I think it was this year, around retailing EVs to really help, like particularly independent who aren't necessarily stocking many EVs at the moment, help them get on that journey. So yeah, mainly engagement figures, but we can reach out, and sometimes we do surveys here and there to find out what they want to see more of as well.
And there have been groups and retailers that have insisted that their new starters, their staff, go through those modules, so they get that accreditation. Before you start, you've got to go on the Auto Trader induction program, basically for their new staff.
So I'd heard like a term Insight Academy. Is that what is Insight?
So
how does that fit into the world?
So we're in the process of launching a new platform, which is the Insight Academy. And it's our new e-learning platform where retailers will be able to access all digital masterclasses. They'll be able to sign up to clinics and watch and sign up for webinars as well.
So that's where, if I was a new starter at one of the big retailers or whoever retailer, point to that new platform and get access to everything.
Yeah. We're just sort of testing it at the moment with a smaller group of retailers, but early next year we will be rolling it out to everyone, and it's a much better platform as well. It's a purpose-built e-learning platform, so it's got a lot more functionality than what we have today. So yeah, looking forward to getting that out.
Cool. Sounds good. Unfortunately, we could carry on for about another hour.
Are we out of time?
It's only quick.
It's only been time for 5 minutes.
You did take up the first 25 minutes. Only joking. No, but seriously, big thanks for taking time out. Andrew travelling up, Jenna, Marc, and if anyone wants to reach out to these three, they will be on LinkedIn, and no doubt will answer any questions you've got. So thanks as always for tuning in. Please like and subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification button so you never miss an episode. That's really important because we need to get over 276. So remember, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And that's us out there. Cheers for that.
Thank you there.
Thank
Thank you.